With this
Sure.
film telling the story of Rick's life and capturing his legacy, when did you know it was time to tell his story through a documentary style?
Um, the film was commissioned. Uh, Showtime reached out to me, a gentleman named Vinny Malhotra, who I've done multiple films with, floated the idea by me, and I was in the running to do the same film maybe 3 years earlier, and it kind of went away. So when it came back around, I was very excited about the opportunity, and um, he's such a contemporary man in terms of how he moved and this creative decisions that he made. That even though he's been gone for a long time, his music has stood the test of time, and his art is and his life was something that was primed to be unpacked.
All right, and my next question is for Ty. With you being the daughter of legend Rick James, but also the president of his estate, what is it like being able to call him dad?
Well, it was always kind of like difficult to distinguish the two because in one eye he's like this mega rock star, and then we go home and it's this sensitive, loving, affectionate, cuddly person. So it's like, okay, this is my dad, yeah. But he always gave that love, like he's a great father, honestly. So it's just like, the both of those mixing together is always a little difficult to, yeah.
Absolutely. And the two of you knew Rick in two different perspectives and contexts. What was it like bringing together your views of him to create his story?
Oh, well, you know, he, you know, no one's perfect. Everyone's nuanced. Everyone has many different things going on in their lives. And I felt it was my job to try to create balance. It's easy to look at the salacious things and the drama and the things he was accused of, and maybe some of the things he was guilty of. But I felt in order to really look at that, let's look at how he grew up. At the top of the film, he talks about being physically abused. At the top of the film, he talks about being sexually abused. So when you think about who he was as a complete human being, I'm not saying that you should change your opinion either way. My job was to present a balanced view of who he was and maybe give you a different understanding of why he was who he was. And, Ty, as an executive producer, was very open to dealing with things that weren't, always pretty and that were very painful in an effort to make sure that her father's legacy was told in a way that was fair and balanced. And that's what we strive to do.
Yeah, I think Sasha pretty much hit it on the head, and it was definitely something that I struggle with at times because of the dark spots. But again, nobody's perfect. We all are human. We were born with flaws and greatness. So I think that Sasha did an amazing job just bringing that out in him. And again, the balance was definitely there, and he looked for the lightness, and that's what I really enjoyed about working with Sasha and Steve and these guys.
And my next question is also for both of you. In today's era, we have groups like Two Life Crew and even songs like WAP on the radio. Do you guys feel like Rick's legacy of music laid down the foundation for the music we know today?
I mean, Rick himself in the film talked about, how hip hop was sort of taking things to another level in terms of how things were discussed in music. And I think he came from an era where it was more nuanced. Things weren't so literal. So you can have a song like Mary Jane, and if you're old enough to understand what he's really talking about, it's right there. It's not, he didn't say weed, he didn't spell it out for you. He created a language that was sophisticated. And I'm not saying that the stuff now isn't as sophisticated, but the way people communicate through music now, sure, he opened the door in many ways to sort of talk about weed and other things in a way that at his time was, really radical. but I think the way people communicate today is much different from the way people made music back then. And I think he was a master of double entendre and creating,
Mhm.
music that, the kids can listen to it and not really understand what's going on, and it's a secret language for the adults where they can enjoy the music on another level.
Yeah, I would just say that I feel like at times the music today is lacking the cleverness and the thoughtfulness because children do listen to it. We should be a little more censored, and considerate of their feelings, and that's a big part. That's a large part of the upbringing and how you turn out as an adult is what you are a part of as a child. And just I would like to see the innocence kept a little bit longer, but
And my next question is also for Ty. What do you hope viewers will learn about your father through watching his documentary?
well, just from the feedback so far, I'm really, really proud of the fact that we were able to present a lot of things that people didn't know about him as a man, as an artist, as a father. Everybody talks about how, wow, I didn't know this, and I didn't know that he did time in Canada with, you know, um, what is the
Neil
white,
Young.
yeah, with Neil Young, and it was a lot of different the genres of music that he was able to touch and pretty much present it to people without anybody even knowing before he became, Rick James is, Bruce Springsteen. Like a lot of these things is what created the man he is and became. So I like the fact that there's just a lot of information given about the man himself.
Absolutely. And my next question is for Sasha. You've been covering music and music history for several years now. How does Rick differ from artists you've covered in the past?
Well, I think he was a man of many influences. And when you look at his trajectory, you understand when you watch the film how he went from so many different genres to really create who he wound up being. And what makes him different from most artists is most people don't have the determination that he had. I mean, say what you want about him, but he didn't really get on, so to speak, until he was in his 30s. Like your average rapper now starts out at 17. If they don't make it by 21, they're working at Home Depot. They're trying to figure out something else. This is a guy who did everything that he could to become who he wanted to be. And he knew who he wanted to be at a very young age. So I think his determination and also the work that he put in working with so many different groups to finally find his voice, I think is really inspirational and separates him from most artists.
And my last question is for both of you. If there's one word you can use to capture Rick James' life, what would it be and why?
One word? Oh gosh. I probably would go with, I'm just gonna have to say innovator, because to me that is somebody that creates a path, whether it is from music, whether it is politically, like he fought for a lot of people to be in the position that they're in. Innovators are bold, they pretty much stand firm in what they believe in, and they introduce to you a new way or their way of life, and that becomes something that other people want to learn and pick up from.
I would say freedom, because freedom is what he achieved when he was making his music and when he was on stage. And I think his Black identity was very important to him. And so many artists who are Black who make music, their only real means of freedom is through expression and through making music and expressing music. And I think he was on a quest to find himself and to find freedom.